Alright, everybody. So, I'm going to review this movie, the one I love. Okay, so what can I say about it? I'm going to bring up the biggest scene to me because what I've noticed about this film, at the point where they're going to go hiking, towards the end of the film, Ethan and Sophie, since there's two versions of them, have a very constrictive path. And I think that's one thing I noticed about the whole film. It was a game, but it was also um, something that was like boom, like a decided thing in the story, very decided. Like, this is my initial thing and this is how it's going to be, and that's what I kind of felt between the characters. It was either a game or it was this is how it's decided. And that's the thing about both sides of it, where Ethan's more that I've decided this is how it's going to be, and the things that you don't pick up on, whether it's body language or subtlety. In that part that I'm talking about, they're talking about going hiking because Ethan, the first Ethan, the original one, that went with Sophie to this exit to kind of like find themselves again and find their relationship again, now finds out that there's another Ethan and Sophie going around that have swapped. So it's like a doppelganger effect, but it didn't seem like that, to be honest. It felt like it was parts of their relationship coming out and kind of not verifying how they are. And almost like what they keep on repeating is kind of like facing them again and again. Even at certain points in the story where somebody's screaming something again and again, and it feels like that. You could hear that in the story, especially in the syntax of this scene. There's a lot of things that keep on repeating and become a factor into that moment. So at one point in this part of the story, the two Sophies go upstairs. One of them's going to change to go hike, but she wants to change into the same outfit as the other Sophie. And there's something about that kind of makes me eerie, kind of makes me understand it a little differently now that I've seen it again and watched the movie again and kind of thought, okay, well, this movie's kind of doing something different. It kind of pulls out the games almost, but they're right there in your face, and it's something that even the second Ethan and Sophie's relationship comes out. She comes back downstairs in the same outfit as the other one, and he thinks that's the Sophie that's from the other relationship that he's had gotten close to, same as that Sophie got close to the original Ethan. So they kind of have well built themselves in both relationships. The problem is now which one works better, which understanding works better, and which one has the motivations that they do. It's something that I learned recently about the difference between sensuality and sexuality. Where the sexuality is about more instincts and the sensuality is more about the senses. Like, that's where I come from, more about the senses and more about that direction of it. So it takes a lot more time. And I think that's the difference with what the original relationship was. Sophie in the original relationship is not ready to take that time with the relationship anymore. It's like she already has. And Ethan hasn't. Now he is. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing right with that. That's just literally how their paths were. And the second Ethan and Sophie are the complete opposite of that. Ethan already knows everything. Already has all the answers. Already is what that original Sophie is part of. And what Sophie is part of in that second relationship is actually what Ethan the original is, kind of building slowly to it in that perfect space, but willing to take the other steps too that the original Ethan is going to take now. So it's kind of like they've well built each other into these other distinct characters, kind of like and I really felt this stuff, like especially when the second Sophie came down to see the second Ethan, and she kind of pretended to be the other Sophie and was saying like, I don't want to leave with Ethan, pretending to be the other Sophie. I want to leave with you. And he admits, yes, I love you too. I don't want to leave without you, kind of thing. I love you, Sophie. And they kiss. But see, before they kiss, when he admits that, her face changes distinctly, and he doesn't pay attention to that. So see, even though he has a mark of this eloquent behavior and everything where he understands things and is more mature, there is something missing from that. He doesn't understand her, that she's now broken that in a sense and made this game up to see how he's going to react. And I think that's the distinction of what I take away from a lot of stuff, that too many people play games with the situation, and it gets harder. It gets harder because you're kind of just putting something in the way. A game, to me, in a sense, it's almost like dating. You know, what makes it difficult is if you're trying to put something in front of it that makes it harder. You know, to me, nothing's hard or easy. It's just you got to make it what it is. And if you're putting games in front of it, which I feel these relationships are in this movie, the one I love, you're kind of already saying, that's it. I don't need to do anything else for this relationship. And in her face, after they kiss, she's like looking so serious and teary-eyed and everything. And it's like you can feel that fluctuation in it, that she doesn't want to deal with it anymore. She doesn't want to deal with this person anymore. This original relationship that she was already in before coming to this place and before pretending to be somebody else. And I think that's what came out of it for them, for that second relationship. They're playing a game and they can't get out of it. They're playing roles and they can't get out of it unless they truly take away themselves from it. And some people can't. Some people can, some people can't. And to me, I feel like that second Sophie couldn't take herself out of it alone. That's for sure. And the original Ethan couldn't either. So that's where their mark of success to get out of there came from. And where the original Sophie was I'm not ready to deal with this anymore. This is it for me. And it was like she zeroed in on that when they met at that point, which was more about Ethan finally admitting, you know what, I got to say everything and I got to take responsibility. And he did. He said, I'm stubborn, I'm difficult. And he said, you know, I know that guy, that second Ethan, is eloquent and knows how to talk with you and knows what to say. And I don't. And he does the same thing right there. He admits it, at least right at the beginning. I know I'm not going to say this right. When he talks to his original relationship and tries to just admit everything. But then he goes back to those same problems, which is, I'm your husband, you're my wife. I'm not letting go. And the biggest problem with that is, it's asinine to say that. But it's like a normalizing thing. He doesn't want to bring out too much. But that's the thing. That's what he has to do right here. And he's not doing that. And in some respects, I definitely understand that. Because sometimes it's hard. You know, that's what I meant by picking up on subtlety of body language. To me, I pick up on it with senses. So a lot of times my wall, and I'll tell you my wall is holding a wall up because of so many people throwing their energy at me with subtlety and body language. It's too much. You know, if someone spoke with me, which is what the other Sophie wants to do, is find that speaking relationship with somebody, communication, because she can't find that with her Ethan, because that Ethan is much more eloquent and he does everything correct. And you can't get through that. There's too much trepidation because you're only thinking in the, how can I please the person I'm with? How can I understand? And it's almost like you're still stuck in that vacuum and space of like, where do I start this? You know, and is your partner, who's maybe more eloquent and, you know, mature in that situation, going to understand you and going to give you that voice? And obviously in that point he wasn't. And in this space, this is where he comes in. This is where the original Ethan and Sophie are talking, and where he admits, you know, I love us. You know, I love that we're not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. And he admits to at least being decided on what he wants to do. But that makes her decision easier. That makes her point a lot more prominent now, because now the way she looks is she understands that he does love her, but she's not in love in that same way now. She's facing things now with her decision, but she's not letting his decision make hers. Now it's like, okay, you've made your decision, and I understand it. But in a way, she's lost in this thing now too, because she's looking for something. See? And that makes you feel lost in a game when somebody makes a game like that. If you're looking for something that is outside of that space, yeah, you're going to ruin your whole thing. So she accepts that he's accepted his decision. But it doesn't mean now that she's going to walk with him out of this place. And I think that's what a lot of people do with games, with like saying, I've made a decision. Those kind of two things are kind of swapped in this situation, in this whole movie. And like, that's where a lot of what I feel is pushed onto this. And this whole movie to me is about basically decisions and how you're going to make them. And even if you make them, you can't make somebody else come along with you. And on the other side of it, if you put a game in front of it, maybe somebody won't see it. Maybe they won't see it and they won't make the responsible decision, even if you can know them as the most responsible person, and that's okay. But if it's not okay, that second relationship does not work. And that first one can't work if you're just going to make a decision and have the expectation, have that value, work on it based on that. Love should have a value, and you're making it have a value at the very least. But it doesn't mean everybody else will too. So like, that's what I felt in this movie. That was very emotional, and I just wanted to say that. Definitely The One I Love is something I definitely appreciate. And thank you, Jax, for recommending this. Love it. Thank you.